Okay, January's World Carnivore Month. Is Joe Rogan going to do Carnivore Month? Let's find out. First, a couple other items. I got this from another physician. Goes by the name of Dr. Pran Yoganathan. He's I guess, a gastroenterologist out of Australia. It says, "Well done to you, Sean. It is super brave what you have done. You will go down as an absolute legend in this field of medicine one day. Just give it time." I comment, "If the vegans don't assassinate me first." And he says, "Nah, man, you are a hero to us doctors who have felt uneasy with our practice for the longest time. They are a cult, and yes, you will be hated, but what you're doing is amazing." So more and more physicians are sort of saying, "Hey, we've had enough of this bullshit. We're gonna start taking care of our patients and not listening to the garbage out there that is clearly not working." He also offered to maybe be bringing me down to Australia for you guys who are in Australia. I'd love to get down to Australia. I've never been. I lived in New Zealand for a while playing semi-professional rugby, and I never got to Australia, so I'd love to get back down to that part of the world. Okay, let's talk about, I talk about nutrition in science in general being kind of a joke, and I particularly sort of go against epidemiology. And one of the things that epidemiologists almost always use is something called the FFQ, or the Food Frequency Questionnaire. And I was looking into the research on how they validate that. How do they say that's accurate? How do we sort of assume that these FFQs are even worth looking at? So here's a study, 2017, out of the Journal of Food and Nutrition Research, and it talks about the relative validation of a food frequency questionnaire to estimate food intake in an adult population. This was done on a German population. And what they do is they look at this, and then they say that they basically had people actually measure and weigh food for 4 days. This is considered the gold standard on how to determine what people accurately ate outside of, say, a metabolic ward where you're feeding everybody. But so they had them measure and weigh everything they ate for 4 days. And then what they did was they compared it to a recall study. So then they did a 1 month recall on them to see how accurately what they actually ate compared to what they were able to recall. And what they found out is that the correlation was 0.27% for carbohydrates. So only 0.27% of the time were their carbohydrate estimates actually matched up to what they actually ate. 55.55 or 55% of the time for protein. And they saw that 92% of the time they got right on alcohol. They really messed up soup at 0.9%. But of the 25 food groups they tested, only 9 of 25 actually showed at least a 50% correlation. So only 9 out of 25 times. So 16 out of 25 times there was less than even a 50% correlation that you were accurate. Think about this. If you were in any other field, if you were designing rockets and we're saying, well, 9 out of 25 times we have a 50% chance of crashing, and 16% of the time, 16 out of 25 times is even worse. This is epidemiology. And then they go on to say that more than half the food groups were overestimated in the FFQ, especially vegetables. At 82.8% of the time, people overestimated their vegetables, and 56% of the time they overestimated their fruit intake. Water, tea, and coffee were underestimated at 14%. This is their data. This is what they're saying. But the more stunning thing to me is the conclusion. This is the conclusion. The FFQ showed moderate relative validity for protein and for food groups: fruit, eggs, meat, sausage, nuts, salty snacks, and beverages. This study supports the use of the FFQ as an acceptable tool for assessing nutrition as a health determinant in large epidemiologic studies. That's comical. They're literally saying that we get shit data, but it's good enough for epidemiology. And this is what we're basing. We're literally basing our entire field of nutrition on this type of data. That's why nutrition is a friggin' joke. Don't even get me on the RDAs. I'll go crazy on that. So another thing here. This is the livestock per capita consumption in the U.S. of livestock and poultry in 1960 and all the way through 2018, where they have data and then forecasted into 2020 in pounds, right? And so when we look at when we peaked, I'm looking specifically at beef here. We look at beef consumption in 1976 in the United States. Beef consumption per capita, per person per year, peaked at 94.1 pounds per year. Okay, so what has happened in the interim since 1976? Well, if we look at the most recent data, 2018, where they have complete data, 57.2 pounds. So that is a 40% decrease in beef consumption, right? Beef consumption has dropped by 40%. Now we do the math on that and we say 57 pounds, divided by 365 days and gets you, 0.15 pounds or so. You multiply that by 16 because there's 16 ounces in a pound, and you come up with 2.5 ounces of of beef per day per person in the U.S. We eat an abysmally small amount of beef. Our beef consumption has gone down 40% in the last 50 years, and yet people are trying to blame beef for diabetes, which has gone up, obesity, which has gone up, chronic disease, cancer, autoimmune issues, mental health issues have all gone up, and yet beef has gone down. How is it possible? Maybe by using these FFQ studies that these idiots do epidemiology and claim that is valid science, or maybe it's not the epidemiologists, but it's the people interpreting the studies. It's the idiots like Garth Davis and Grieger and these vegan ideologues that use this data and say, oh, it's good data, it's the majority of science, and bobblehead Grieger on his treadmill giving his bobblehead moves, or some stupid biomarker that we have no idea what it means. Nutrition science is garbage, guys. We're eating less red meat and we're friggin' sicker. That's the bottom line there, guys. And so we need to realize that. And guess what? Guess what happens to people when they eat only red meat? Well, their health gets better. That's probably the more powerful than all the epidemiologic studies that have ever been done. Okay? All right, Joe Rogan. Let's hear what Joe Rogan has to say.
January is World Carnivore Month. That's one thing that I've thought about doing.
So
there's a lot of people that are just eating
Joe's had me on the show. He's had Jordan Peterson on the show. He's had Michaela on the show. He's had Pavel Satsolin on the show. Said I don't know if vegetables are any good at all. He's had his hunters on the show that live in a year in the wilderness on red meat. Joe eats a lot of elk. He's got obviously Rhonda Patrick whispering in his ear, sulforaphane. Hormesis. And, I don't know if Joe's going to do it. I mean, last year he kind of said he was going to do it, and then I'm not sure I don't think he ever did. Maybe this year's going to be different. Joe, if you happen to be watching, what I would recommend, is like I said, first of all, the hormetic effect, which you had Pavel on the show, that can be achieved without vegetables. You can get hormesis by exercise, cold immersion, heat immersion, fasting. All of those things are very powerful hormetic effects, and vegetables are just like, you can do it if you need to, if you want to, if you like them. Do they have potential toxicities that are problematic? For some people, that's the case. Now, do I think Joe, if Joe does it, do I think you'll see a huge benefit? I don't know. I mean, he's generally a pretty healthy guy. He may not see much change. Maybe if he's still got a nagging shoulder issue, I don't know what it is. If he's got some aches and pains, maybe that'll go away. Maybe he'll feel good. Maybe his libido will go up. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, he's pretty healthy, so he probably doesn't need to do a carnivore diet. He may do it for an experiment, and maybe he'll see some benefit. If he does, if you do, Joe, what I would recommend is, eat enough. Don't undereat. A lot of people undereat. I know you like a lot of elk. You might have to add some fat. I know you will add tallow to that, so that can be helpful. I would certainly recommend, prior to training, you might load some sodium. A little salt loading that'll help you get some fluid into your muscles, help you perform better. But don't undereat, and that's generally most of the advice. And you might have some different. I know Ari was talking about not going to the bathroom. You will definitely go to the bathroom left. You're just not making as much waste. It's not that it's rotting in there. We have very clear evidence that meat does not rot in your colon. You just don't make as much material. You're just not wasting the food. You're actually absorbing it. I'm sure your buddy up in the Arctic or whoever, Alaska in the wilderness, didn't ever go to the bathroom. I'm sure he went fine. But so anyway, that is what we'll see. We'll see what happens. Why don't you guys tell you what, in the comments below, why don't you go vote yes or no? Do you think Joe's going to do World Carnivore Month? And we'll have some fun with this. Anyway, for you guys that want to do World Carnivore Month, we're counting you. We want to count you. Go to meatrx.com and just register. All you got to do, all we need is your name, not your name. We just need your age range, male or female, and what country you're from. And then if you want to put your email, you can, but you're not required. That's all the information we're collecting. We just want to know how many people are doing it, get a rough idea where they're from, and see from there. Now, if you want to go on to sign up for free to meatrx.com and get free access to the forums and video chats and all that stuff for the month of January, you're welcome to do that too, but you don't have to. All right, guys, have a great day. Enjoy steak. Get in there, train hard. You know, do your own hormesis, exercise. You know, don't eat all the time. Every 5 minutes. You know, get out in the sun. You know, get hot, get cold, sleep well, get some light on you, and life will be good. Eat some meat. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.